There we go. Okay, anybody that watches this or tunes in, I'm sure you're familiar with Matt's face by now and the band that he's in. Simon Says. They're out on tour right now with Taproot and Smile Empty Soul. How's that been going, man?
It's been awesome. It's been a bit of an awakening to be back out here.
Yeah.
Doing this, 20 plus years later. But no, it's been great. It's we're having a good time. The shows have been fun. Like I said, it's been an awakening, kind of relearning how to do this, So, but yeah, it's been awesome.
You've been finding yourself pretty sore at the end of the shows?
Yeah, like my body, my almost 48-year-old body doesn't really recover like my 20-year-old body used to. Yeah, I think that's been pretty manageable. Yes, it hurts, but I feel like that's easier to work out than probably like the strain and the fatigue on my voice. That's something that I'm definitely not conditioned for anymore. I've been fine. Surprisingly, I've been like holding up okay, but like I definitely like I can tell it's fatigued. You know what I mean? So.
I know you did backing vocals, or you do backing vocals in Sages, and I think you were doing that when you and Zach were doing Automatic Static.
Yeah.
I would think that there's some muscle memory there in your vocal cords, at least for the songs, and like knowing kind of what you were doing when you were singing them for the first time and then out live and everything. I've noticed that with every show that I see footage of, it seems like your voice is kind of getting more used to being used in that manner, primarily instead of just in like a backing kind of role.
Sure.
So, I think you're sounding great. So, I think that's kind of what counts, and your voice is holding up. So, that's good.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've been, I never stopped singing like completely, but yeah, backing role, on, half the set, when you play live, 2 or 3 times a year is different than, doing 2.5 weeks straight every single night. I'm surprised we have a day off right now. And then you're fronting you're the lead vocal for, anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour or whatever, depending on the show and how much time we get. I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm doing fine. It's just, I haven't used it. I've used it, so I definitely feel it. And but I made a conscious decision not to stress about it. Like I used to, in years past, I would almost let it ruin my time if because I was just so concerned all the time, like, oh, taking care of it and doing this. And I'm not being neglectful, but at the same time, I'm just enjoying my time out here. Either my voice is going to work or it's not. And that's kind of been my attitude. And that's probably partly why, or primarily why I'm getting through it, is because, singing in general, and in my opinion, for me specifically, it's so much more mental than it is physical. So if you're already telling yourself that you're fucked, well, then you're going to be fucked. And so I just made a conscious decision that I'm not going to stress about it. I'm just going to go out and have fun. And all the guys have been like, dude, you sound fucking great. And that's probably partly why, because I'm like, fuck it.
You took some of that pressure of yourself off of your shoulders with that approach to it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So,
yeah. What song has been the most challenging getting back into so far?
It's always been Blister. Even in our heyday, that song's a fucking bitch. Yeah. So, but we've kind of worked some things out where I'm sure you've seen videos even at the SAC and the LA show and stuff where Deebs has kind of taken some of the pre-chorus stuff for me, which just gives me literally just a few bars to just kind of take a break and get ready for the choruses. So that in and of itself makes all the difference. But that song, it just never stops. And I wrote myself into a corner on that motherfucker because
You know,
it just builds and builds and builds
yeah,
and builds and builds and gets busy. And so it's not even really that it's like a range issue. It's like a breath issue. Like it's such a busy song. So that one has always been, and it probably always will be my nemesis, but we get through it. It's all
yeah.
good.
I thought you were gonna say Trainwreck.
Trainwreck's actually like that one I look forward to. Well, I look forward
Yeah,
to all of them, but like that one's kind of for me, I mean, that one's a bitch for the rest of the guys, but for me specifically, that one's kind of dope because it's like, yeah, the notes in the choruses are kind of they're big and they take a big, the
yeah,
prep, but they're big, long, sustained notes. I'm not really working through like a crazy melody with it. So those are for me personally, and the way that I sing, which is just kind of wide fucking open. I don't really have
yeah.
any like, finesse in my vocals. So for me, Trainwreck's kind of like bring it on. Like that one's a little bit easier for me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love how that one sounds live. I see you moving around almost the most in that particular song. Oh shit.
Oh, we good. We good. We good.
We're good. Okay. What I would say is that I think I've seen you move around almost the most in Trainwreck when you guys are playing it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny. I do. Well, I mean, I don't really sit still or stand during
Oh,
like the set at all. And
yeah.
it's funny because I was, we did, on this run we did 2 shows with Taproot, and
Mhm.
it it was that was so great to see those guys because we hadn't seen them in 20 plus years, um, and so while reconnecting, getting to what you're talking about, we're just asking each other, how's life, what's going on, how does it feel to be back here? I mean, similar to what we're doing right now,
Yeah.
and it's funny talking about moving around. Like, I don't know how to do this stuff without being that way. Like it's like I can't even make myself stand still. You know what I mean? Like it's just I don't know how to do it any other way. So it it's super physical, and I could probably make the show much easier on myself physically and vocally if I just fucking chilled out. I just don't know how to do it. And so yeah, I'd move around. Trainwreck is one of those that's just like, how do you stand still in that song?
Yeah. It's like it's your guys' song in your catalog that I feel like is like you wake the crowd up a little bit more with it because it makes you move,
Sure.
and it's
Yeah.
it's just it's got a really fast tempo. And I
Hmm.
see Chris up there playing that. He's just like, it's
Totally.
just like,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking. I mean, I'm not up on the stage and playing anything, but I could feel it through the feed.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. I
like how
look.
intensive.
Yeah. Totally. You look around. I see Chris behind me, and it's just like, how does that not inspire anyone to like,
Yeah.
like just stand, to move. It's like, of course I'm gonna move. I look over, Zach's fucking going ape shit. I look over to my left, Arietta's just fucking, gonna die because he's fucking moving around, and it's yeah. I mean, I don't know
How
how to
does
do it
he?
any other way, man. When you play with these guys, it's like
Yeah.
you all feed off each other. So
How does he see through all of that hair? By the way,
I
Mike.
I don't know. We were joking about this the other night. Like, Chris and I specifically, we were saying that like we look over at Mike, and like it's like we're interacting with each other, and we can't even see his face like at all.
Uh,
It's like Thing from the Addams Family, you know
yeah.
but somehow he sees us and he sees where he's
Yeah.
going. So
I remember when I first watched the video for Blister, and I'm sitting there, and his hair is even the same way. But it's shorter, of course, but it's in his eyes.
yeah,
And it's just, I feel like over the years, it just grown and grown and grown.
yeah, totally. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. When I first reconnected with Mike before Simon Says even started speaking again, at least collectively the four of us, his hair was literally like, kind of I mean, not even to his shirt collar length, you
Mhm.
know what I mean? And that's the first time I'd seen Mike in probably almost 10 years. Um, So yeah, to see it now, I mean, like straight Troy Polamalu action, dude. It's like,
Yeah,
we
it's
keep
kind of a
telling
thing
him,
of beauty.
what's that?
It's kind of a thing of beauty.
Yeah, no, it is. I'm silently jealous. So
Yeah, you had your run.
yeah,
with
I
that.
did. I just
I
wrote
mean,
on my face now.
I got this big
Yeah,
mom
see,
right now,
jealous of you too, man.
But I want to ask you about what it was like getting Steven up on that stage and having him right next to you for Life Jacket. Like I was like, oh snap, because I tuned in right at the end of the song before that,
Yeah.
which I believe that was Blister before Life Jacket, right? For that set.
Canvas, I
Oh,
believe.
Canvas, that's right, Canvas.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, then all of a sudden I see Steven and he sounds really good with you. And that's why I was telling you that you should get up there with them on for one of their songs. But it sounds like you played your dates with them already, and unless there's another tour with them, probably won't get to see it.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely, I mean, we're definitely going to do some more shows together. We'll have to work it out for sure.
Yeah.
Being on opposite sides of the country, it makes it tough
Oh,
logistically.
yeah.
But it wasn't really a planned thing at all. Like I said, when we pulled into that first show, that I didn't even realize a live stream was happening. I just thought Tom was just taking pictures of us.
You
But
seemed pretty surprised when I said that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't even really a planned thing. Like we were kind of just catching up throughout the day, and obviously we're busy doing our thing and getting ready for our own shows and all that kind of bullshit. And that I think Life Jacket's just kind of the one song that you know uh, Steve honestly like knows like at all. And I probably casually just threw it out there like, hey man, you want to get up there and sing? Like, let's do it. Because we're not a band that's like super calculated. Like, we like to live in the moment. And like, hey, whatever happens like, we don't play to tracks, we're not on rails, we don't I mean, nothing, not that there's anything wrong with that by any means, but like we're a live band, and like it ebbs and flows live. And so that's kind of where it stood. And then at some point in the set, I looked over and I saw him standing behind Zach's guitar cabs. So I think I walked over and I was like, if you're standing up here, it looks like you want to sing. And I kind of put him on the spot. And so that's literally how it happened. He just came out and he's like, he just did the last chorus with us. And like, I fucking loved it. And then we did it I think it was the next night. Yeah, the next night we did it, or maybe it was 2 nights later. We did it together at another venue, and same thing. And it was just, I had a conversation with Steve afterwards, and I was just like, like doing that with you, like, it, not to sound cheesy or overly dramatic, but I was like, that means a lot to me, because like, we never really had those experiences on the road. We made friends on the road, but we never like did the touring that like
Right.
bands like Taproot did, where it was like, you were out with your homies, and like, you could kind of do that on a nightly basis. We were always out doing these tours that like we really had no business doing, to for lack of a better way to put it. And like I said, not that we had, we were out all the time with people that we didn't vibe with or whatever, but like we were never out with bands that we were friends with from the start. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the bands that we were friends with, that we were, maybe from the start going out with, like, they were on such a different level than we were, that it's like, they weren't coming out to sing with me on my tune. You know what I mean?
Right.
They were fucking mega stars or whatever, so it having those 2 nights and just, doing those last courses with Steve, it was cool, man, for sure. But back to your question, it wasn't planned. It was, again, kind of like Simon said, it was organic, and it happened, and he was willing to do it. And I love that he was, and here we are, so, but I would love to get up there and do some tunes with him as well, or a tune. I think I'm just so reserved that I don't I don't want to like be like, hey man, let me do it. You know what I mean? It's like, if he wants me
Right.
to, well, and if not, then I won't. But like, I know a couple Taproot songs I could throw down on, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I could hear you I could hear you belt out calling. I could hear you
Yeah.
do poem,
Yeah.
myself, or
Right.
Mento even,
Yeah.
like there's a bunch of songs that you guys would really work together
Sure, man.
well, just
Yeah.
trading off with.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
And by the way, I was talking to Taylor, and he was fanboying over the fact that he got to meet you guys. Yeah,
Oh man, Taylor, dude. Dude,
yeah, he was
they're
so
much.
excited. He's like, those guys are so nice. They're so good. He was saying how funny Zach is and everything, and I'm just like, yeah, he's like that goofy uncle.
That's funny. No, no.
Yeah,
When I say "Oh Taylor," I say that in the sense of like, man, there's so many more artists that you should be stoked to meet. No,
yeah,
he's the sweetest dude, man. Real quick, I know I get long winded, but the first night I met him was the first or day
mhm,
that we linked up with those dudes, and I was like loading gear out of the back of the van, and he, such a sweet gesture. He like, on their West Coast trip, a couple months ago, he went, kind of out exploring or whatever, and went to some shops in the Bay Area. I think it was the Bay Area. I think that's what he said. I could be wrong. Maybe it was Vegas or LA, probably LA. And he found, so there was a magazine that was out for a long time called BAM, which is Bay Area Music. And he found a couple magazines, one that we were in,
right.
published back in probably 98 or 99. Metallica was on the cover, and we had a full page write up picture in there, and he got it and like gave it to us, like, dude, I found this. I thought, if you guys ever wanted to have it, I found this, I bought it. And I was right in the middle of loading gear, and I was like, oh, thanks, man. Yeah, cool. And I felt really bad. And so I pulled him aside later on, and I think it was the next show, and I was like, dude, like, I feel like I didn't really get to like genuinely meet you and say hi. And so we had a few minutes there, and I met his wife. And no, he's the nicest dude, and he's so great in that band. Like, fuck, that dude.
Yeah, he is.
He's such a great guitar player, and like, just, I love his energy, and he's just such a positive spirit. Like, yeah, it was great to meet Taylor finally. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
I got the same vibe from him when I interviewed him on the podcast and was talking about his band,
Yeah.
with him and everything, and asking him kind of how the Taproot thing happened, and then basically saying how, well, I was a fan before I was in the band, obviously, and then he explained like the things that led up to him being in the band and everything. And I definitely agree with you. He's a really sweet guy. He's very genuine.
Totally.
And then when he's up on that stage, he is like 100 miles an hour.
Which I completely subscribe to, because that's me, that's us, you know what I mean? And like, again, that like, you talk about him being super genuine, like, you can see it in his playing, like, he's just genuinely fucking thrilled to be there, and I love that. Yeah.
John's piping in, says, hey, nice shirt. Hey, John, why don't you click that link and join the convo?
What up, Jonathan?
Yeah, definitely an awesome dude.
Yeah.
See if John pops in here. I don't know if he hasn't answered me yet.
All good.
But so I wanted to ask you about, did you guys plan to play the new song, or are you just saving that for if it's like another leg or maybe the last show of the tour? Because I really want to see how that sounds in a live setting.
Yeah. No, it's kind of taken a back burner as far as playing it live, because just getting, Mike isn't out with us. He wants no part of touring, and he's been upfront with that from the beginning. So in fact, that's why he left Simon Says, back in 2001.
Yeah.
So when this stuff started popping up, asked Chris, my super close friend, if he'd be willing to play drums, on these runs. And he was super gracious about it and was like, yeah, dude, let's go. Anything to help you out. And so basically our priority has just been getting him up to speed, to play these tunes. Cause it's like, even though we're friends and we go way back and, I've looked up to Chris as far as a drummer, pretty much my entire life and in his old band. It's not like he's sitting around listening to Simon Says songs. So
Right.
it's not like, oh yeah, dude, let me just play these tunes that I've been listening to my entire, like, he doesn't know Simon Says songs. So we really just kind of had to gear up to get him ready to play the songs that we're going to play, on this set. And it's kind of a conscious decision to kind of play the older stuff, at least this first go around. I don't want to, none of us want to continue to play this old stuff forever and ever. Obviously there's a couple tunes that we'll probably always play, but like, right. we're in the same boat that you are. Like we're excited to write and play new stuff. We just kind of need to get through this but
what do you have to do?
The plan is definitely to play for sure the new tune Across the Fire, and as well as many more. Zach's got a lot of ideas that he's thrown our way, riffs and parts and part demos and full demos. A lot of this stuff starts with him, and then we'll kind of take it and throw it in our blender, and before we know, hopefully we'll have some new Says tunes. But we want to play a lot of new shit for sure. We just got to get through this run.
Have you guys done the revamped version of Dyslexic Smile yet?
This run? This run, it's actually was we prepped for it. We played it. We played 2 festivals on this run where we got longer sets, and we played at those festivals. But the run itself is Head PE, Smile Empty Soul, and us. And being the opener, there might be a local band opening each show or whatever, but being the opening band on the package, we've tried to keep our set around 30 minutes. So, we kind of feel playing a song like Canvas gives the set a little bit more of a peaks and valleys, rather than every song just being like straight, just bouncy bangers.
Right.
Like, so we kind of opted, like, if time is an issue, we'll pull Dyslexic and throw Canvas in. And so Canvas has pretty much kind of been in its place. But, it's just to give it just a little more dynamic, feel in the set. So,
yeah. I wanted to let you know that on the live feeds on Facebook that Tom has been streaming, there's been a lot of people requesting Dead Weight.
I know, that's like
2.5 songs in one.
Yeah, no, I love that tune too. We all do. It's just like, I mean, unless we're doing like a hey, what up?
No. Sorry, I can't get enough of you guys.
Dude. Hey, look, we're spoiling them with the support here.
I had to put this back on.
All right, look, we're all
like Saturday night after our show, and it just keeps being relevant. So keep pulling it out of the hamper and putting it on.
And then poor Jonathan, I'm like pressuring him to like drive like 14 hours to come see us on Friday also, and he's like,
it's only 5. It's only 5. We're coming.
It'll be worth it.
Careful what you wish for, because we're coming.
I'm stoked, dude.
Made the plans like that.
Hell yeah. How you doing, man?
Good.
So you guys played Saturday?
Yeah, we had a show Saturday in Pittsburgh with Heartsick from Michigan, which was fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. Right. Those guys are pros, and so that's a hard act to follow.
Very energetic band.
Are they?
Yeah.
And like we had a great lineup with those guys and a couple other bands from Pittsburgh, Chaos Killed and Spiral, and it was a great lineup, great night, ton of fun.
Cool, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We're just getting, we're kind of that whole May situation for us was big, so we're kind of ramping back up to whatever's going on in the fall. So
yeah, cool, man. That's rad. How is I don't know if it's okay for me to put this out there or not, but how's the bass player situation going?
Oh no, totally cool to put that. I mean, we've been very public about it. So we have a very strong contender who we're kind of taking it one step at a time with. Pretty much nailed the first part of the audition. So I mean, we're doing this on the fly, right? Like we have another show in 2 weeks that we're playing with our current bass players. So
Sure.
you know, like I said, it's one step at a time, but things are looking good with the person that we have lined up. So we're just gonna keep going with that, and hopefully everything works out. But he was at the show, hung out with us Saturday, and all of that part of it was good. So that's important too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Vibe is probably more important, you know.
So, younger too, which I we kind of need that, like, you know, that energy. That will be a big boost for us.
Good, man. That's cool. That's cool. Hell yeah.
Zip around that stage like the guy from Mudvayne.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So now,
dude, how's everything going? You guys, like, you know, like, I saw you guys as maybe your second or third show back. So how are things coming along with doing it every night?
It's like I was telling Will, it's been an adjustment. It's been all good. But it's definitely been a bit of a reality check for sure, you know. I was saying, like, my, you know, almost 48-year-old body doesn't really handle it the way my 20-year-old body did, you know. So but no, each show is getting better and better as we go. I was telling Will, I just kind of made a conscious decision to, like, not stress about my voice. Like, I'm just like, fuck it, I'm not gonna stress about it. So I think that's kind of getting me through. My voice has been holding up. And yeah, man, it's been good, dude. So,
well, I can relate, man. Like, I when we started being active a year ago, I hadn't sang at all, but especially like doing a whole set for, I don't know, like 8 years. So I didn't know if I could do it. And then it was like, okay, I can. And then a year later, like, I still feel myself getting better every time we perform. And like, so, but there is that, like, anxiety of being too careful with your voice. Like, you don't want to blow it out. You don't want to hurt something, especially when you know you have other shows coming up. And so getting over that, like, anxiety of, like, no, it'll be okay, and I have plenty of time to recover for the next thing, is, like, just, I think, part of that process.
Yeah, well, singing is it's so mental. It's so much more mental than it is physical, in my opinion. So, like I was saying, it's like if you're stressed about it and you go into whatever situation, you know, you're about to perform in with the attitude that, like, I don't know, man, like, then it's like, you're fucked. You know what I mean? So if I'm telling myself it is what it is, I'm not going to give a shit, and, like, people can deal with it, you know, then it's like I kind of have a little more confidence probably than I would. And that's probably what's getting me through, because I'm like, I'm just not giving a shit, you know?
Dude, and actually, I mean, you said it's more mental. I think that they work together pretty much the same. Like, I just got over this, but for, you know, the first round of, you know, first year or whatever, for however long we did it, I was psyching myself out, where it was becoming like a nervous reaction for my throat and mouth to dry out the day of a show.
Yep.
Because I didn't want that to happen. Like, the first couple of times we played, I was battling allergies, and it was like a real thing. And then every show after that, even though it wasn't even my allergy season, that I was getting that, having that reaction, and it was all
you're manifesting it. Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah. So, about it. So
just keep going, keep doing it, because I promise it gets better.
Yeah, no, it's all good. We did 5. So, you know, the first show was the 10th, I believe, and then obviously we're ending on Friday, which is the 23rd. But in that span, we did 5 in a row, which is kind of not really normal for really any band to be not on the road. I mean, unless you're just straight, guerrilla style, which we're not. And, to do 5 in a row for not just for me, but for all the guys. And we're out here bare bones. We don't have crew. We're not just walking on stage, just hand me my instruments and we go. Like, we load our gear. We handle, we tour manage ourselves. So, after that 5th show, I think that 5th show was in St. Louis. I felt it, like, for sure. I was like, and we actually, our set got cut short. We had a little bit of drama that we dealt with. It's fine. We're all better for it. But after that day off, we played last night in Joliet, and like, we all it was like, we all just had the show of our lives. And it's like, dude, it's amazing. Like, just a day off, like it's all good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, yeah. Like, I feel like after that 5 in a row, it's like, all right, dude, bring it on. You know what I mean? So,
well, and then here's the other side of it. We didn't play for like 2.5 months, and it took me half the set on Saturday to remember how to perform.
Right.
Like, not the singing part. The singing part was great. It was oh no, I have to like put on a show here, and like, regardless of how I feel or whatever's going, and it took me like 2 or 3 songs to like really feel like I was going again. And then it's like shit, like, I that's not how I want to be. I want to come in like, like you said, like, show my lives from the second we start. And
right.
But it's just I think you would know better than I do from actually touring a lot, but I think it's just the ebbs and flow of, like, sports, right? Like, absolutely. A team comes off a big win streak, and then they have they lose to like some bad team, right? I see it in hockey all the time, right? So it's kind of that effect of playing all the time.
Absolutely. I think it's much harder to be in a position of like what you're doing or what we're doing, where it's like, it does ebb and flow. You've got local shows, and then you've got, we're going to travel for, like, we're going to do a Friday through a Sunday and, make a run. And then we're going to be dormant for 2 months while we record a new song, or it's much harder to be in that situation because you don't ever get into a rhythm. You know what I mean? As opposed to these artists that are just out doing it all the time. It's like they're doing their normal cycle. They put out a record or singles nowadays or whatever, but they're touring this entire cycle for 2 years, and then they go off, and then they come back out for it's much easier, in my opinion, to be consistent in whatever you're doing. You know what I mean? Or like, when you are consistent, it's much easier, is I guess what I'm trying to say, because it's brutal. Like, it's hard to just get into a rhythm, so it's funny you bring up hockey. Like, I play ice hockey, and so it's like, we talk about this all the time. We're just old dudes in beer league team or whatever, but it's like, I would much rather play with less guys, where I'm having to maybe play half the game, because I can get into a rhythm. Even though I'm physically more tired, I can get into a rhythm and a flow, because it's like, you're out there more, rather than when the entire team shows up and then you've got 3 or 4 forward lines, and you're, out of an hour-long game, you're playing like 8 minutes. It's like, dude, I can't ever get into a flow because I'm never on the ice. You know what I mean?
You're not even getting a workout at that point.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Same thing with this stuff. So
the worst was playing defense, and you have the odd number, so you have to sit out a shift to let it.
Totally. Yeah.
Talk about you don't even play with the same person every time. So talk about not having rhythm.
Exactly. No chemistry, nothing. Yeah.
I was a goalie, though, so I don't have to worry too much about that. I was always out there.
Right. That's awesome.
What was I gonna? Yeah, no, and I think it's also important to know, though, like, and this is kind of the hump that we got over doing it this way, is it's important to know that you can take a long time off and not need a lot of time to get back into it. Like, we were off a good 6 weeks without even practicing, like, in the middle of the summer. It only took us 3 rehearsals to really feel like we were like show ready, and that's like, it's kind of like a less is more effect there. Like, I think if we continued to practice just week after week with no thing to prepare for, we would probably start like bickering and stuff. So it's just like
totally.
I think it depends on the group and how that dynamic works for everyone.
Yeah, you start overthinking it for sure. Like that's the common thread with us. It's like we know if we have a shitty practice, the show's going to be dope. Like, you know, it's like don't overthink it, you know, because it's already in our minds like what we need to work on, and it'll be ready for showtime. Whenever we're like trying so hard and then it's like, okay, cool, we got all the songs down. Like the practice was great. Then it's like the show is always fucking garbage. So
I worry if we have our if we're like, you know, say we have 2 or 3, let's say it's 3 practices before a show. If the one before the show is the best one, I know we're fucked.
Right.
Exactly. I don't ever want that. It's like you want the second one to be the best one. Right. You want the third one to be just kind of like, you know, get through the motions a little bit, and then you save the best one for the show.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Which date was it that you're hopping on with them again, John?
Oh no, I'm not. I'm coming to hang on Friday at the machine.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm asking because maybe you should get up for a song. I think you'd sound really good.
That'd be tight. That'd be tight.
Talk about
Yeah.
that. Yeah. We can talk about that.
But I bet it would be blissful.
On the set, I'll pick one.
All right. All right.
If that's how you want to do it. However you want to do it. I mean, not like I don't know them all, but
dude, I would love for you to come up. That'd be fucking rad, dude. Yeah.
Especially that I think it was Z-Rock helping you with the screams. I'll help you with the screams.
Yeah.
Some stuff.
All right. Yeah. I can help you with
yeah. I think Z's screams are kind of similar to how Matt's screams sound.
I didn't notice that. I couldn't hear the difference. I just saw it in the video. I didn't know the difference at all.
Yeah, dude. Whatever you want to do, man. Let's make it happen.
All right. Yeah, that would be dream come true for me. So yeah.
Good call.
Did I share the story that John said about when he saw you guys for the first time?
You
showed
me the clip, like when we played State College. Yeah. Yeah. Crazy, dude. Yeah.
I told you guys that story when I saw you.
Yeah, and talked about it. Yeah. It's crazy, man. Time.
The coolest thing about that was my 2 boys, not like my friends that showed up at that show in May in Hanover, were the only 2 other people that I knew from back in 99 or 2000, whatever that State College show was, that were at that show.
That's crazy, man.
And like the one dude I hadn't seen in maybe 15 years, and he showed out for that show. So that was beyond everything else that was going on that day. That was very cool.
Yeah.
Moment for me.
No, it's crazy, man. It's cool to like be connected, after all these years and through, you know, what we're connected through. Like, I mean, that's really, not to sound cheesy, but that's what it's all about. I mean, it's like, you know, I mean, we're going out here and like there have been some, you know, for the most part, the shows have been dope. And I'm talking like every show's been awesome as far as like being part of it and playing. But as far as attendance, you know, there've been a couple duds. But it's cool, man, because it's like even at those not well attended ones, like there's always at least one person that's like, dude, I fucking saw you at whatever, or my buddy told me about you guys and I've been listening to, you know, Shut Your Breath for the last 18 years. And you know what I mean? It's like, that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? Yes, we love doing this, and ultimately, like, you know, it fuels something inside of us, but like, it's about connecting with people, you know, and even if it's one person, or like you, Jonathan, you're like, that was my first show in 1999. And like, you know, and then here we are, you know, 25 years later, you know, like, and now, you know, we've played a show together, and now I'm forcing you to drive 5 hours to come see us. Like, but here we are, you know what I mean, on Will's podcast, you know.
Trust me, I loved everything about that last night. Like, it's just like me and Lanny were sitting on the couch, and those texts started coming in. I was like, I think we're going to the machine shop on Friday.
That's right. That's cool. And I see Jen here. I'm not, because I'm tech-hearted, but like, hi, Jen. And like, dude, like, give it to her. She's just sitting there on my bed while I'm falling asleep. And I'm just like, fuck it. If you're going to be here, then like, I'm paying for you. You guys are both fucking coming. God damn it. Like,
Jen is the shit. Like, did she leave already? She's still here. She's like,
still here. Yeah.
You know, like I don't even know what to say. There's no, like, Jen is like my long lost sister, and we like found each other through Taproot in the last year, and there's all of these crazy connections to, like, whatever you want to call it, spiritually, cosmically, whatever, that kind of tie back to this August 4th date, which was Taproot's first show back from their from, you know, being dead for how long. And we played that show with them, and Jen wasn't even a part of it yet. There's all these like crazy universe connections to that date. And like you were saying, like, here we are.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. It's great. So hell yeah. Can't wait.
Oh yeah.
So this might be going, I don't know. This is interesting. We haven't had it like, so when I was, there's no way you're gonna remember this, and that's fine, but this is worth sharing, I think. So back in the day when I was like a teenager, for whatever reason, I somehow got a hold of you, and I think Xerox, AIM, like the instant messenger.
Okay.
Accounts, and like we used to chat all the time.
We did. Oh, dude. Hopefully I didn't embarrass myself. I do not. I remember chatting. Yeah, I am, but I do not remember chatting with you.
Oh yeah, I mean, of course I wouldn't expect you to, but it's just like a really like funny like thing that like, and I didn't even remember honestly until we were getting ready to play with you guys in May, and like that kind of like crept back into my mind. Like,
right,
I was thinking about like, you know, how things had come full circle, and I'm just like, oh shit, like we used to like chat all the time on AIM, and I was just some kid.
That's like, crazy, man. Yeah, I would get on that. It's usually when I was off the road, because, you know, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I mean, even then it's like we didn't all have laptops while we were out, you know, on the road or whatever. But man, it's crazy. I would sit around and chat on AIM, and like, you know, it's so hard for me to say this, but fans, you know, would chime in or whatever, and we would try to just keep that connection going and keep it, you know, because we were always the band. It was like, yeah, man, just do the work. But yeah,
no, it was always cool. It was like, you know, I don't think it was, you know, I think I don't remember. I was a teenager, so I'm sure I said stupid shit, but I was, you know, I think it was completely respectful on both ends, and it was just kind of like a cool thing. And I was like, you know, I think I would ask questions about what was going on with the band and tours, and because also back then there really wasn't this constant stream of information on the internet. Like, you didn't have social media, you didn't. I mean, like the PRP existed, right? But unless the PRP had something to write about, which was already a story, like there was no, you didn't have this interaction like we're doing now. So
yeah. No, nothing. There was a wall between, for sure, absolutely. And, you know, we were always trying to break down that wall, because we're like, you know, we're trying to get fans. We're trying to gain traction, and, you know, and so yeah, I remember like the message board on the website, like, you know, like all that stuff, man. It was, you know, I remember being on the road, you know, our tour manager, you know, we'd kind of like rotate duty, like, okay, like I did messenger yesterday, or I did the message board yesterday, like you do it today, you know. And so we'd all kind of like take turns, and we'd do like road journals. I don't know if you remember that, but like bands on their websites would do like tour diary, and like they do a little post or whatever. And like, so yeah, man, it's that's crazy that we would sit on AIM and do that.
Yeah, I mean, like think about like all of the people that probably, I mean, I don't have what I'm trying, like, just again, like the weird universe connection of like, of all the people that you could be sitting chatting with right now,
right?
Someone that was, you know, chatting with you in AIM anonymously, essentially, over 20 years ago.
And then
that's how I felt the first time I reached out to Matt on Instagram and approached him about coming on for my very first episode of the podcast.
Right.
I was thinking myself, and I got on the phone with my buddy Steven, who introduced me to Simon Says. He's like, guess who I'm talking to right now? He's like, who? I'm like, Matt freaking Franks from Simon Says. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, they're back. He's going to come on my podcast that I haven't even officially launched yet, and we're going to chat about stuff. And here we are almost a year later.
That's crazy. Yeah. I know. I mean, it's like, who, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. So,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you kind of alluded this a little bit, and I'm kind of changing directions here, but how has the response? How has the response been on tour? Like, are you guys feel like you're gaining ground with new, like getting in front of new people, or is it how's it going?
Yeah, it's been it's been very typical Says. We kind of walk out and everyone's looking at us like, what the fuck is this shit? You know, we're here to see Head PE or fucking whatever. And then after song one, you know, we've been opening with Hey You. And I think after they see that, like, I think it's always just that shock of like, oh my God, these guys are fucking chaos, you know? And, you know, because I mean, it's not like we look the most metal, you know, we don't come out there trying to look all tough and fucking, ooh, you know? It's like, you know, I got like high water pants on and a Whitney Houston shirt on, you know what I mean? And like, you know, and Deebs is rail thin, and you know, Mike looks like fucking Lou Diamond Phillips or whatever, you know. It's like, so from Young Guns. So it's kind of this hodgepodge. I think people are like, all right, well, what is this, you know? And usually after song one, people are, you know, whoa, holy shit. And then it's like it kind of builds. And I again, talking about breaking down, you know, walls, or, you know, that kind of keeping that connection. Like, I don't even stay on stage. I've just been walking out onto the main floor like every night and doing pretty much half the set down there. And I think it's, well, from my perspective, like it's awkward for me because I'm shy and introverted and it's not really my style to like just get in people's face. And so while I'm out there, I'm still kind of like shielding myself, like head down, whatever. But I think like I think it's still like it kind of breaks down that barrier, and I think people respect it. And not that it's like a calculated like, oh, you know, I'm trying to do this to like gain whatever. It's like again, I don't really care. So it's like, look, like, I know you've never heard of us. We're excited to be here. So like, let's just do this together. Why am I going to stand on stage and like keep this separation between us? It's, you know, like I'm trying to welcome you just like I want you to welcome us. So it's been positive. To answer your question, it's been great. By you know, one or two songs in, people are down, they're stoked, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's been cool. So
Good.
Yeah.
I want to hear. And yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, you're just working the space, right? Like it's kind of when people don't really know you or know your music too well, like I feel awkward standing on the stage too long and just that's all you're getting, right? Is that like after a while, it's just the four of us on stage doing what we're doing. So you come off, you get into the crowd, wherever you go and do from there, it's a whole nother like element. And it does. I think it pulls people kind of more into what you're doing. And, you know, even if you go like I'll go out and start pushing people a little bit, it doesn't necessarily always result in a big pit or whatever, but it just kind of like it gets them in, right? It's like snaps them into like, okay, I should be paying attention to this.
Yeah. Well, it breaks the guard down. It's like, okay, like we're all here together. Like we don't have to act like I don't like I'm too cool or like it just, you know, it's like, look, like I'll make a fool of myself. Like, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? And like, and it also taps into like my roots. Like, I grew up listening to straight edge hardcore bands, and it's like, dude, all of those shows were on a floor in a warehouse or in a Connex box somewhere. So it's like they're like the bands that I grew up listening to and was inspired by. Like, they weren't playing on stages. Like, you know what I mean? They were playing fucking pizza joints and fucking coffee shops, you know what I mean? Like having hardcore shows there. So it's like, well, let's just do it that way, you know, let's just do it like that. So
the other thing that's weird is when you get you develop that performance style and then you end up on a bigger stage where you can't get to them, and then you don't know what to do with yourself.
I know.
You get to that point in the set where you would start wandering and you're like, I don't have anywhere to go.
Right, exactly.
Like a 4-foot drop from the stage to get down to the crowd. It's like,
Right. Or if you have a big barricade in between you that you can't get over, or like there's not enough people to like do like a dive into the crowd. Like you're just
totally, yeah. You're just like, well, it is what it is. I remember old, back in the old Says days or whatever, and we would play festivals and there's a good 15 feet between the edge of the stage and the barricade, and like I'd be like, well, I'm gonna try it, hopefully I don't fucking high center on this thing, but like I would still make the run and I'd jump out there and I'd try my best. But yeah, there are situations where it's like, all right, it's not happening, like
yeah, certain nights you just not all right,
yeah, it is what it is. So
yeah.
But that was like honestly, one of my core memories from seeing you guys in 2000 or whatever was I think you crowd surfed the entire set.
Probably.
The venue, the Crowbar, it was small, but it had a barricade, but there wasn't enough space to pull people down. So if someone crowd surf, they would just keep pushing you out until you fell. And so I think from my memory of it, you were just on top of the crowd the entire set.
Yeah. I mean, that I probably was I used to make a conscious effort just to be out there, you know what I mean, just to cause chaos. Just it's like saying earlier, just like fuck it, like we're all here together, like, so I'm gonna make you engage somehow, some way,
Yeah.
24 years later, I still haven't forgotten that memory.
Hell yeah, for sure.
Well, the Says has I think I explained this to Matt. They have staying power even when they were dormant for those 20 plus years. People remember their live show and the music, and then like they're reintroduced if they maybe forgot who they were with that first song, like Matt was saying, like that scream that you've been doing at the start of Hey You. It's like a jolt. It's like, whoa, damn. It's like,
right.
This is who we are, like you see that energy, because you said that Simon Says is defined by their live show, right?
Absolutely.
You go 110%.
Right. Yeah.
You don't know 48.
Yeah, it's the tone setter. It's like, here we are.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
When I came off, that's I think I don't know if we talked about this before, Matt, or if this was something you talked about like in an interview before, but a lot of people, even nu metal fans or whatever genre you want to label it with, like a lot of those people missed Simon Says because it was a couple of years. I was listening to Simon Says for 2 or 3 years before I ever even heard of Taproot. So it's like you guys were kind of like before the bigger wave, and so I think a lot of people might have missed it. Like I had when I came off stage Saturday, I had a text from Taylor Roberts from Taproot. He was like, Simon Says fucking rips. So I'm just like, dude, I've told you. I've been telling you. And it's just like, I think that like there's like, people a couple years younger than me, like probably missed. And it's like, so I do think there's a lot of ground for you guys to kind of go back and like territory to kind of go back and rediscover and reclaim, because people that got into those bands a couple years later, they're absolutely going to love what you guys are doing. There's no reason why they wouldn't.
Yeah, I can appreciate that for sure, and I think there's a lot of relevance there. I think we I have talked about this a lot, and it's I don't know, I start to feel weird talking about it, because essentially what it feels like I'm saying is like we were ahead of our time, and I don't know, I just can't. It's hard for me to say that because I feel like I sound like a douchebag, but like I mean, it's kind of like we were in this thing that like we kind of got lost, and a lot of that is marketing, and we kind of shot ourselves in the foot, and we squandered opportunities, and we passed on a lot of opportunities that probably would have catapulted us a little further. In fact, we were talking about this stuff last night with Tom, but yeah, we were it literally a year later, bands were doing what we had been doing for 6 or 7 years, and all of a sudden it was mainstream, so, and I mean, even from the look to the sound to whatever, and obviously we had our influences, and it's funny, I think, bands that we look up to, or we looked up to back then, and bands that we emulated, they were never really mainstream successes. So there's probably a pattern there. We probably to our detriment, probably followed some of their, patterns that like, and their lack of opportunities as well, but musically, we just never really fit in anywhere, in real time. Now that's a fucking entire genre, right? So, but yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think back to your question about how's it going out there, like how's the response been? Like, I think we're seeing some of that, like, because people are just like, fuck, dude, like, wow, really wish I would have known about you guys back in the day, or whatever. And there's some young kids out here at these shows too, and they're just like, dude, fucking, and a couple of these kids have like come to multiple shows, and they're like, dude, I've been listening since I saw you 2 nights ago, and I haven't stopped. So it's awesome. So definitely.
Yeah. Well, I gotta
get to the Limp Bizkit show now. So
yeah, I gotta go to my next real world meeting here in 2 minutes. So it's gonna be jumping off anyway.
Yeah, well, I told the wife it'd probably be like 25 minutes tops, and we're almost an hour in. But time just gets away.
It's all good. Chris is like, how long are you gonna be, dude? Let's go get some food. I'm like, half hour. Here we are.
Yeah. But before I wrap it up, though, there probably isn't anything new to share with the fans before you go, Matt. And you could chime in too, John, for your guys' plans if you want. Anything on the horizon after this busy point, after the tour, and there's anything opens up in the schedules to look forward to, anything like that?
No, as far as shows go for the Says, no, as far as shows, like we're pretty much going to go dormant on the shows. I mean, if something comes up, there's nothing on the radar yet. But our plan is basically to get back in the lab. Like we want to start working on these new tunes, start releasing, the stuff that we've been basically, trying to get done.
Right.
The shows are getting in the way of that shit. So, we do have a show next spring in LA, but that's the only thing on the horizon. But yeah, we're just gonna start, working diligently on this new material. So
yeah, I need new music from the Says. Definitely.
Me too. Tired of these.
What about you, John?
How can you be tired of these songs you haven't played in 25 years? Well, I was gonna say that, like anyone that like, it's kind of a weird thing to think about, but if you do think about it, anyone that would have, like, for those of us that were around at the beginning, all we got after that was 25 years of nothing. So now is the time to be a Says fan.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
For us, we have a show September 4th in the Pittsburgh area at Preserving Underground with Of Virtue from Michigan. And we also we're able to add Riding with Killers to that lineup.
Nice.
So that's going to be a killer fucking show. And then really same thing. We need to get the bass player situation sorted out, and we are working on the planning, I guess. I'll say that for now. There's maybe some surprises with the recording situation, but we're working on the planning there, and there will be more shows, I think, before the end of the year, but just kind of rolled out one at a time. So
awesome.
But all good big picture stuff for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited on both fronts from both of you guys as bands. Looking forward to the new stuff, and hopefully seeing the Says and Guides both, if not this year, early next year. Really looking forward to that. Thank you for popping in, John. I know that was kind of like a short notice, but I figured, hey, it kind of be fun to get you in here on this too, and just kind of shoot the shit and stuff with Matt. And thanks for coming on, Matt. I know it's right towards the end of the tour, and don't know if it's hard to fit it in or not, but I do appreciate the time from both of you, and it's always fun.
Give you some insight. We're here in Joliet, Illinois. Here's our indoor pool in our hotel.
Oh, yeah.
Road life right there.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing us together, Will. And Jonathan, we will see you Friday, homie.
Yep.
All right. You guys take it easy. Be safe out there, Matt. Get home to your family safely. And we'll talk soon, man. Thank you.
All right, fellas.
Thanks, guys. See ya.